Hello and welcome to Black Love and Cinema with Manny and Jess. I'm Jessica and this is my husband.
Mansell.
So we are happy to continue our countdown to Christmas where we show you 12 of your favorite Christmas movies until Christmas Day. And today we're going to be talking about Almost Christmas. But before we get into that, we wanted to announce, not because we know him, but Latarius Whitfield, Mr. Dear Future Wifey himself, finally got married after 5 years of writing letters to his future wifey. Congratulations to him. And we actually got to watch his wedding yesterday.
Yes, yeah. Kind of delayed us from filming, but here we are, ready for it.
So what'd you think about his wedding?
I thought it was a pretty good wedding. I thought looks like it went well. It was filled with love. Seemed like he had everything set up the way he wanted it. And I think looks like he is going to enjoy his bride.
He made it sound like he was going to enjoy his bride.
Yeah, he emphasized that.
Right. Well, I thought it was beautiful too. And it made me think about how exciting weddings are.
Yes.
But really what stood out to me was the vows that they made.
Mm.
I was thinking about when we got married. So we basically eloped.
Yes.
And then put all of our money toward our honeymoon.
Yes.
And so when we got married, it was just us and the witnesses and the pastor or officiant. And we said traditional vows. The interesting thing about it is we were both sick.
So the sickness and health started right off the bat.
Yes, we were literally sick on our wedding day. And so when we got home, we was just like ready to pass out. All we wanted to do was sleep, drink liquids, sleep some more, and then we had like Chipotle.
Mm.
So I'm saying all that because while we were getting married, it was an exciting day, but I didn't think about the vows. Like I wasn't really thinking about what I was saying. And then even after I watched our video, I still wasn't thinking about what we said until we sat down and talked about. We literally had a conversation about what these vows mean to us.
Right.
And so we know that we say for better, for worse, for sickness and health, until death do us part. And it all sounds romantic and it's something that you aspire to and you hope that you can fulfill. And the death to you part is like a goal, a vision, if you will. But we see it as something that separates us, sort of like, I don't know. I've always envisioned death to us part like we gonna die together, like the couple on the Notebook.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Right.
No spouse left behind.
So like if you going, I'm going.
Yes. But we know that it doesn't happen like that.
Right.
Some people, plenty of people, die before their spouse.
Yeah, before they die. And that's something that I've personally seen multiple times.
We're going to address in today's video because if you don't know, Almost Christmas is a film that came out, oh goodness, several years ago, maybe 2017. But it stars Danny Glover, who plays the patriarch Walter, who lost his wife named Grace and is basically just about a year. And so he hasn't spent time with his family in a while. And it's been a year since her passing. He has 5 children. He wants them all to come together and enjoy each other's company and remember Grace for Christmas. And so in this episode, even though we're trying to keep you in the Christmas spirit and just basically we're trying to motivate you to think about relationships from different perspectives. But today, grief stands out and we encourage you to go watch that movie. It's full of laughs, full of love, all the things. So it's not a sad movie.
Right. And there's some comedy, some crazy drama.
All kinds of drama.
but we are going to take a look at what the main focus of this film was, which was dealing with grief.
And to do that, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm basically going to ask Mansell the questions, and it's going to be like a old school traditional podcast style where I ask questions and he answers. And because I think he has a lot of insight to offer on this, and we hope that you enjoy today's episode. So I remember when we was dating, we had this conversation, and you were telling me that you needed some time, that you thought people needed time to heal after divorce and after death.
Yes.
And so I thought it was interesting because it basically was sort of this, what I interpreted as a year of grieving, a seasonal year of grieving. Can you tell me about that? What is that about?
So when people have been in long-term relationships, whether it's with a spouse or just being family, I mean, that is going to have an impact on your life. You're used to being around that person every year, going through the holidays, going through birthdays, things like that. And so the theory I came up with was to get through those type of endings, you need that year to go through the seasons. And that means that you're going to have to go and experience each season or each passing of occasions that will come up. And it may be significant or it may be insignificant, but you don't realize it until you are going through that grieving process that it was significant or not. And so an example would be a few years ago, my mother passed and it was in May. Her funeral was in June. And for the rest of the year, I gave myself, it's about 6 months, but I gave myself the rest of that year to basically grieve any way I wanted. But I was giving myself a year because, again, not only would I have to go through the birthdays, holidays, my own personal birthday, but also the, I guess, death anniversary of when she passed and go back over all of that and what that felt like. And so having that time to process, in some ways, it was very helpful. For one, her birthday and a lot of the holidays were coming right up right after that. So we went through different things. We had a celebration for her, my family, and so that helped. But a lot of it was internal. There are things that I experienced with her, just being a mom and a son in our relationship that I didn't get to experience with anyone else because that was our experience together. And so, like going to certain movies or viewing certain things, my birthday, I would always make sure I go see her on my birthday. Mother's Day, which was the following year, I spent my last Mother's Day with her before she passed. But then I had to go, back again to the year next year. Mother's Day would come around again, and I would have to experience that without her. So it was a different situation, and so there was a different feel to it. As far as long-term relationships and marriages, it can take a year, depending on the circumstances and the loss, but and whether or not you had kids involved, things of that nature, because now you're going through kids' birthdays and you're going through anniversary dates and things like that. And from a spouse's perspective, there may have been things that were tied to certain dates that you may have to remember, and or they may come up on that day, and you just have to deal with those things. I would say, definitely a whole lot easier dealing with divorce and going through that process than death, because death is fine.
Yeah.
But that we had that conversation, and it was a very good conversation we had, and you kind of shared your feelings on divorce and on death, and it gave me a different perspective, but it did still keep me in the core thought of there's a season you have to go through to process those things. That it may be a year, it may be 2 months, it may be 3 months or 6 months, but there has to be a time that you intentionally set to have that moment to grieve. Otherwise, you'll hold on to it, and eventually it'll come out in ways that you may not even expect it.
So you have to allow yourself to grieve, and you don't know how much time that could be, but just allowing yourself a time or a season to intentionally mourn the loss is what you think is helpful.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying like different seasons and occasions that pop up could trigger the emotions associated with the loss.
Yes. Yeah. And in the movie, you could see that in different ways. As the holiday was coming up, Walter was going to the shelter.
Oh yeah, that they had founded together.
Right. They went in, and they would every year go in and help with the shelter there, the homeless shelter. And the curator there, or the person that was running the shelter, basically came over and said hi and gave him a picture of them too. And it was a momentous occasion. So he had to process through that, the loss of, those traditions that were shared together, even though it may have been something that seemed meaningless to most others, like kids or anything like that. That was something that was shared. And he kind of shared with his kids why it was important.
Oh yeah, he did provide more context about it
Right.
later. He was talking to his son.
Yep.
They founded it because his wife, when she was a kid, their family went through a period of homelessness.
Yep.
And so I guess when they got older, they created a homeless shelter so that no family would be.
Right. And I think they ended up in that homeless shelter. It was kind of established, and then this was their way of kind of getting back to that.
Oh yeah, her family was in that homeless shelter. Yeah, you're right.
And so they would spend every year there,
Okay.
because of what happened with their family being.
Yeah.
So in that case, the same thing. If there's certain events that your family did, traditions, you're going to see those things come up. And even as you move into new relationships,
Divorce or death.
post divorce or death, you have to decide if those traditions are something you're going to carry, or those traditions are something you're going to let go of and mourn and process and move forward.
Why do you think it's important for people to go through a season of grieving, whether for divorce or death? What difference does it make?
Because, for one, I think going through that process honors that person. I guess in divorce it can be messy, and you may not want to honor that person anyway. That's probably, you may not want to honor them. But in that case, it would be, you need to have the time to heal, to get through whatever pain that was caused. And then sometimes it may not always have been pain. It may have been getting through the loss of whatever times that were had, especially if you had kids together, understanding that now your kids are going to be dealing with different dynamics. And so you have to process those things, and that you need to take time to do that.
And then the loss of what could have been
Right. The future that could have been is no longer there and it's been severed. So at that point, you have to grieve that and pretty much put that away so that way you can embrace what's coming forward.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good reason for that. Also, with death, you just want to be able to like honor that person and be able to properly feel those emotions. You don't want to hide that or push it down or just cover it up because eventually they will surface.
I think that we talked about it in our video on Love Brooklyn, how pretty much every character in the film needed to take time to mourn what could have been. And even
Yes.
though they were experiencing different loss, one was a breakup, one was the death of a spouse, one was the city, one was her business. It was just literally you had this vision of what it was going to be.
Right.
And even in an imperfect situation, the relationship context, regardless if it ended in death or divorce, no one goes into a marriage, for example, being committed to getting divorced one day.
Right.
You say till death separates us. And then when that doesn't happen, you're mourning everything that could have been, even if maybe
So it's like a death before the death.
Yeah, it is. I can imagine. And then even the death of a loved one or your spouse, your children. Again, everything that could be because you have these visions for family and for your spouse, and now it's just gone. Even if you're old.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you could be 70 years old and your spouse died.
Yeah.
But you still here and you still have a vision for
Whatever's gonna happen
whatever's
next.
gonna
And
be.
especially if you got grandkids and you have plans for all these things that happen with your grandkids and seeing them graduate and going to their weddings and doing all these things, and now that person's not gonna be with you to share those moments.
Yeah. I think because I haven't had a very close personal death.
Right.
But I've experienced some breakups, and I think for me the main thing that was hardest was what could be,
Right.
and I feel like that would be the biggest trigger is what could have been or should have been or what I thought was going to be.
Right.
And I don't think people take time to mourn that for some reason
No.
because it seems so out of reach. Like it's not going to happen now, but at the same time, it's like your child dies, and it's like I was supposed to walk them down the aisle. I was supposed to celebrate them buying their first house. I was supposed to or whatever.
It's somewhat a death to self.
Yeah.
Because now you're grieving a part of yourself that no longer will exist in that future with that person.
Yeah. So the thing is, what's interesting is in the movie, Walter was grieving because it was his wife, and it's only been about a year. So how do you support your kids when you're going through your own mourning process or grieving process?
Okay, so the best way to support your kids is to listen to them when they are asking for things. You want to listen. You want to hear them out. You want to give them space to be able to grieve the way they want to grieve. Whether it's in anger, whether it's in sadness, whether it's in sports or in books or whatever hobbies they have, to eliminate that. You want to key in on that, give them that attention, let them be able to grieve in their own way and keep that line of communication. And hopefully it's a mutual feeling. Some people take death really hard and they lash out in different ways. In the movie, most of those characters took it pretty hard, but they kind of had good memories. The youngest, he was the one that kind of got led into a destructive path. He ended up got hurt while playing sports, ended up taking some painkillers, and I think he was kind of coping through that.
Yeah, because then after he got healed and was, what is it, like released to play football again,
Right.
he was still taking painkillers and he ended up in an accident.
Right. And so
Crash.
that you want to look out for those kind of signals where things may be spiraling. You may have, if there's substance involved of any sort, just kind of key in on those things and be attentive, be somewhat engaging, and just hopefully if it's an adult child and you're dealing with that, it's different from little children. Little children you can kind of be right over and just kind of make sure you're guiding them in the right direction. Adult children, you just got to check in on them.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're being kind of not so overbearing, but just kind of checking in and make sure they're good, especially in those key times when it's mom's birthday or anniversaries or their birthday, things like that they're used to celebrating.
It sounds like that would be the same, oddly enough, through divorce or death.
Yeah, I could see those being very similar, especially when you're dealing with your children, because to them it's the same. It's the sever of that relationship that had you in the same home. Now it may be two separate homes.
How is it different if they're not your biological kids?
If they're not your biological kids, I think that becomes more of a choice on them. You extend your grace to them. You wish them well. Because that could happen in just long-term relationships. If you're with somebody for a while and they're kids, and then y'all split up, same thing can happen. It just basically root for them to be their best selves and continue living your life.
I think it can be challenging. Like in my experience, like with my family, for example, anybody who divorced or whatever, I think people in my family, I don't know if this is a black family thing, but it's like people don't ever really leave your family.
If they were good family members,
They tend to stay
yeah,
around.
usually, yeah, I could say that's similar.
Yeah.
That's similar. If you were a good family member,
Yeah. So like, I have uncles, for example, that married into our family.
right,
And then they got a divorce but they're still around. And so
they still show up to
the
events.
kids are around and they
Yeah.
still engage kids that were in the house
Right.
that they raised.
Yeah.
And then of course they had some biological children with them as well. But then in other cases, I've seen families that it's like, well, you ain't my kid, so it's not like you being cold hearted or whatever. But it's kind of like when the
Right.
relationship ends or whatever, especially like you said, they're adults.
Yeah.
Well, either way, actually, you just move on.
Right.
And so that would contribute to the mourning.
Oh yeah.
Because you raised these kids.
Oh, yeah.
You did everything for them. They were there. You supported them through life, and some people find children joyful.
Yes.
And now they're gone. So
Right.
that's a different kind of loss on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like in the movie though, it seemed like pretty much for the most part, like you said, they were okay.
Yeah.
They all I think they did that well in the movie. They all just they acknowledged that mom was gone. They talked about it. They comforted their dad. They comforted each other. And aside from their own beefs and issues,
Yeah.
they seem to be dealing with it pretty well.
Right.
There was throughout the movie, Walter's trying to figure out his wife's pie.
And I think that's tied into carrying traditions and memories. So in the movie, he is attempting to make this mom's a sweet potato pie.
I know you weren't about to say pumpkin. No, your black ass wasn't about to say pumpkin pie.
I switched it up real quick. It was a sweet potato pie. Thank you very much. But it was a sweet potato pie. So
I'm sorry.
now I see the meme the other day. I have to share it with you later. But it was a sweet potato pie. He was trying to make this recipe, and it was her special recipe, and he just couldn't get it right throughout the entire film. And then finally, I can't remember if one of the kids said, "You got to make it with love" or something like that. You got to be thinking good thoughts or something. And he finally put it together. But I think in the essence of that, there are things that tie us to those people. And one of those things is food, especially in Black families. We carry a lot of recipes. My family has recipes from uncles and aunts and things that we used to remember them by. And my cousins make those dishes on holidays or just at random or special events. And we try to pass those recipes down. I just recently acquired a lemon pie recipe. I have not yet tried to make it yet, but it has explicit instructions on how to mix it and everything. And so we may be trying that this holiday season. And another recipe that I looked up, which I'll probably try, is peanut butter cookies.
Your mom.
That was something that my mom liked to make with her mom. And in that same essence, my mom lost her mom at 17. And so she had a lot of grieving that she had to do.
Yeah.
And so in my mom's last few days, me and her had conversations, and I actually had the opportunity to ask my mom how she grieved when her mom passed and the things that she missed about having her mom around, which I never thought to ask until the thought of me thinking about what I was gonna have to deal with when she was gone. And so we had a good conversation there. And one of the things that she brought up was making peanut butter cookies with her. And so I found at least one place in town that makes a peanut butter cookie that's pretty much spot on, but I want to make that cookie myself. And so that way I have something I can have as a tradition in my household.
I think that's great.
And so in the essence of that, he makes the pie, it ends up turning out well. And it's kind of celebrated mainly because now they have that memory that they can carry on throughout the years. And even though she's not going to be there, they have that honor and tradition of carrying it over into the next holiday.
Yeah, and in the movie we get to see the impact because what's that comedian's name? Monique?
Yes.
She plays Grace's sister, and she gets to taste the pie, and then you see her cry, and it's like this. She did say, I think she did say she's here, she's still with us, and it's this comfort.
Yeah.
I guess it gives another level to the word comfort food. You mentioned that he was doing, he was taking pain meds to cope. Is it possible to avoid dealing with grief that way, in an unhealthy way?
I think communication with his family. From the movie, it seemed like his mom was kind of his biggest fan. And so I think he had a lot of ties in with her, and maybe not so much with his dad, even though he was, in touch with his dad. But I think she was at all his games. She was always there with him. She was there during his draft into the school and all that stuff. Yeah. And so I think he probably took it really hard, but I think he still should have reached out at least to, if not his parent, his other siblings. And I know they kind of wrote it to where he was a little bit further in, there was
very young.
Yeah, there was a distance. It's like what, 15 or 20 year distance?
Yes, because his parents had him in their 50s.
Yes. And so there was an age gap where
baby.
That's still that's a few years down the line.
Were you shuddering a little bit?
A little bit. Like, oh my goodness. Could you imagine? Oh my.
Nah,
I'll be 70 years old when
me. You'd be 83.
Oh dang. That's crazy.
But he should have communicated with us. So what do you communicate though?
So How does he communicate?
No, like if you're grieving and you're saying sort of a proactive measure to prevent a preventative measure rather to keep you from getting into unhealthy grieving is to communicate.
Yeah.
So what are you communicating? So if you go to your siblings or your parent, what is it that you're talking about?
I think they're just talking about how they're feeling in general.
Just sharing it.
Yeah, just saying,
put it
hey,
out
I'm
there.
sad, I miss mom, anything
Yeah.
that's gonna let them know that they can kind of pay that extra bit of attention. And the hard part is, in the case of Walter, he's already trying to grieve the loss of his wife, so he's got the most impact. It's on him, but he still has, those responsibilities to look out for kids,
Even though they're grown.
right? And sometimes in those cases, it does become a sibling duty in certain sorts. I myself, being an older sibling, I have to look out for my little sister. And then I have a sibling that's older than me, and he looks out for both of us. And so we all just kind of pull our parts. But then at the same time, when our other sibling, even if my older sibling is going through something, I'll liable to reach out, or my little sister will reach out to both of us, and we'll all get together on things. And in that same sense, we will go and take care of the parent as well. We all check in and we all make sure things are going the way they need to go. So it is kind of a mutual family situation where everybody's kind of doing their part to check in with each other and be there. So if they knew mom was someone that was always at his games, then maybe one of the siblings will step up and be like, you know what, I'm gonna try to make it to these games, so I can be there for him. One thing I did like about it was his coach in the movie also recognized it and asked him about it. Like, hey, are you've been out, but even though you're ready to play, are you really ready there mentally?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good right into the movie, was having a coach that actually pays attention to that as well and says, hey, I know you've been dealing with this.
Yeah.
And are you going to be ready to play regardless of whether or not your body's ready? He wanted to make sure he was in that mental space as well. So you may not even be family, but someone that's close to that person, coach or boss or whatever, and you may have to have that conversation as well.
So I know that in my family, when someone has died, like we go, you go to the house, everybody, make meals or whatever.
Right.
And my family you've met a lot of my family. We
Yes.
just like pretty much are chill. That is pretty much our state no matter what.
Right.
So we're chill in the sense that we don't overtly act dramatic.
Right.
We're just clowns. We literally just chill. We
Yes.
laugh, we talk, we whatever. And that is no different after somebody passes away.
Correct.
And so anyway, when people have passed in my family, that's literally what we do. We'll go to someone's house, we'll be eating, and then we talk. And it's like, oh, y'all remember when?
Mhm.
Oh, remember that time when? All these things, and you sharing all these stories, just be cracking up. And is that a black thing? Is it because I went to funerals for white people, and it is like totally different.
Very somber.
Yes. And then go to the funeral. Like I went to one funeral. All the funerals I went to as a black person, if you want to put it that way, or with black people, I should say. I'm always black. You walk by the body and you acknowledge the people who lost in their immediate family, the spouse, and all the things. So you hug them and whatever. And it could be 2 rows of them. You go to we go to every single person. You go to mama,
Right.
everybody.
Everybody's getting love.
Everybody gets hugs. And so I remember going to this white funeral, and mind you, I'm in Podunk, Missouri.
Ooh.
I shouldn't have even been there. As a matter of fact, I had a pastor one day. He was a white pastor, and he made a joke because he came from that town. He was like, we used to have this joke that only black people there are buried under the river. I was like,
oh no.
yes. But that was the town I was in because at the time I was dating a white dude. Good Lord. So somebody in his family died. I went to the funeral. He wanted my support. And when they viewed the body,
Right.
but nobody hugged anybody. And so his grandma just lost her husband.
Right.
And I guess I didn't know the white protocol. I don't know if it was white or not, but when I viewed her husband, I gave her a hug. And everybody's looking at me like, because no one else did that. But she was like, thank you so much. And then I just went back to my seat. And I'm like,
is there something wrong? Did I miss something?
her husband died. And y'all just walked past her. And so anyway, and then after the funeral,
Right.
we went to her house, but they were just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's the chicken? So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. After my mother's funeral, we actually, all the cousins got together and we all went to a movie. So that's in true fashion of our family. We are big on, all of us usually get around each other, watch movies or talk about movies or do anything involved in movies. And one of the things that was big with my mom was watching movies. I told you about all my adventures with movies with my mom, which we'll have to get into one of those later. But in that tradition, we went, and it was in June, and it was the year The Blackening came out. So we all went. We kind of mobbed up to the theater and saw The Blackening and had a good laugh and enjoyed it. But
This was after
my mom's funeral.
Yeah.
So it was just something that brought us all together. So I think for our culture, we look at it as a celebration of life. So we celebrate that person's life, and then we try to make light of it in the best way possible by talking about all the times that we had fun, or they made us laugh, or they did something crazy and we just have those memories to hold on to, so then we can have the good times and move past it.
Yeah, you're right. Because like you said, it's a celebration, or like sometimes the funerals are called homegoings
Mhm.
and things like that. And people do things differently. I mean, because I know pretty much every funeral I've been to, with exceptions of two, they were all called homegoing celebrations.
Right,
And then as far as white people though, they were just funerals,
right.
and it was very much giving funeral vibes. But also, I did go to one. It was a young person. It was a teenager. He died suddenly, and his funeral was slightly different. I think maybe because he was young,
Yeah.
and like we were all wearing the football jersey
Okay.
or the colors for his favorite NFL team, and so it was a little different. But I think I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe whatever. But I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do it. But I just think that if you ever go hang out with black folks after a funeral and you wonder why they laughing and tikiing,
Yes.
do not be alarmed.
Yeah. I did that. I kind of got a strange look at a coworker's funeral because me and some of the other coworkers were kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a great guy. He used to make us laugh all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were kind of giving each other, yeah, remember when he used to do this, and then we kind of giggled, and it felt awkward because their family was kind of looking over, and it was a white guy. It's like no, we're celebrating, but it's we didn't want to disrespect, so we kind of kept it down. But yeah, but then I guess normally, from what I see in those situations, they go somewhere else, like they'll go to a bar or they'll go somewhere, and then they'll fellowship that way.
So I guess like while they're still at the event,
Yeah, they kind of keep it somber, but then afterwards they'll find somewhere else to go.
there's a couple questions I feel like I need to ask you.
Okay.
So for someone who's listening who feels stuck in grief, what would you say is the first holiday or event that they should pay attention to during their year of grieving?
I would say normally it's going to probably be if it's a spouse thing, it's going to be an anniversary, more than likely, or if there's major holidays, depending on how they celebrate it, whichever one comes 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So most people, Christmas is big because you exchange gifts, or Thanksgiving because of family. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, those are the big two. And if you're religious, whatever other religious holiday, or Easter, that might be something. Depending on spouse, Father's Day or Mother's Day, if it's if they were a dad or if they were a mom, depending on which.
Well, then you tell me, because I mean, we've been talking a lot about death, but I think a lot of times it could apply even if it's about divorce.
Right.
But I think you said something to me about how you just need to grieve a key moment in your lives together.
Live, and then when a key moment comes up, then you can choose that time to either grieve that moment, or you can take that and collectively decide how you want to grieve any other moment that comes up. So that use that as a time to figure out how you want to grieve in those moments. Mm-hmm. So it may be like for my mom, the next thing that came up was her birthday. Mm-hmm. And so when her birthday came up, that was a deciding factor of, okay, the family decided to celebrate, but personally, I had to make a decision. Okay, what is going to be coming up next? How do I want to deal with these things grieving wise? And that's when I thought of I'm going to grieve however I want for these next 6 months, and then when the new year starts, this is what it's going to look like for me.
So if you're stuck in grieving, it sounds like you might be saying you just need to decide to grieve intentionally.
Yes.
Like if you stuck, like you said it for yourself.
Right.
You said you were going to give yourself so much time, but you gave yourself so much time because you were actually literally like, I don't care what comes out of me.
Right.
I'm about to go. I'm going to feel this.
Yes. And there were times where I'd be sitting at work and I would just well up. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't care. Whatever's going on, I'm just going to feel it. Mm-hmm. And so I would sit at my desk. I'd maybe close my door. I would cry it out. And then I would get myself back together. And then I would keep going.
What about, because you're a black man, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes. Last time I checked.
Still black.
Don't come off.
So what about black men though? Hear you say that like, oh, he's tripping. Or does it? What I guess I'll say, what made you feel comfortable to first of all even decide to grieve intentionally, and then what makes you feel comfortable to even allow yourself to cry or to feel what you're feeling?
Well, for one, it's what my mama taught me, so that's just upbringing. But also, I was fortunate enough to have time to spend with my mom prior to it happening. So I got to. There was a 2-year period, we would say, where we got to make amends. We got to figure things out. We got to ask the questions. We got to say goodbyes. We got to do all those things. Not everybody gets that opportunity. And so for me, it wasn't, it was hard, but it wasn't as hard as it could have been. But in some cases, that may not be the case. I think that as a black man, choosing to be intentional about it basically says that I'm in control of myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let anybody dictate how I grieve that's just being a man, period. You're not going to tell me how I'm going to grieve my mama.
Or anyone.
Or anybody. Right. I'm going to grieve them, and if I got to shed a tear, I'm going to shed a tear. I'm going to keep it gangster, and it's going to roll down my eye, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm good. And, I'm going to throw on some Tupac or something strong, or a song that maybe reminds me of her, that isn't too sad, that's maybe uplifting, and I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna let it out, and then I'm gonna keep it moving.
Yeah.
One thing I did admit, and I'll put it out there, I went to a movie. Like that was just one way I would do it. Like I would go see a movie and sit in a theater that's dark, and if there was a sad moment that came up in the movie, it could have been. I went and saw, was it Thor: Love and Thunder?
That movie made everybody cry.
Yes, and it particularly for me because it dealt with cancer.
Yeah.
And so in those sad moments, I just let it happen. I was like, you know what, this is my chance to get this out. So I'm sitting in the theater, I'm listening, I'm seeing it, and I'm just letting it out anyway.
Yeah.
And nobody can see me because
So that's an outlet.
so we're all in the dark.
Yeah.
Just don't make too much noise.
Yeah.
But as that, that's it. Or for black dudes, there's a couple of movies that you can watch where you can cry, like where he sheds the one little tear. So you put on that movie and then you let it out.
I can't wait. We can find a way to review that movie. But I know we do black level cinema, but you can't have black level cinema and not cover glory.
That would be the outlet.
Okay. What kind of advice do you have for people who decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and grieve?
Okay.
What kind of advice do you have to help them so they don't feel overwhelmed by their emotions while they're grieving? Or is that even a thing?
Try to do it in the most healthy way. Crying is healthy. Letting that go. Make sure that you're in a safe space when you can do that. And if you have support from family or friends, seek them out. If you don't have support, it's okay to go get support.
Therapy.
Yep, therapy. And just a tip, that a lot of companies offer telehealth, and sometimes they offer teledocs that you can do therapy through. So even if you just got to call somebody and be like, hey, I'm having a hard time. And
that's part of your benefit package.
Yes, it's part of your.
To ask HR if y'all have that.
But they also have NAMI, the National
Association of Mental Illness.
Something like that, yeah. And NAMI is free, and they have numbers you can call. You can look it up. You can contact them, and they have advocates that actually are there to help with those kind of situations as well. And so I would advise you to do that. And I believe there's a
988 suicide.
Yep.
Hotline.
Which I think they've converted that over to mental health as well.
Yes.
So
mental health crisis.
Yep. So 988 if it just gets really bad, and they can steer you in the right direction to go as well. So for those people dealing with grief and dealing with it in such a hard way that it can be devastating, those are some ways you can look for help. So I would say seek those things.
And you don't have to wait until you feel like you're overwhelmed.
Right.
If you call 988, they're not going to say, oh, well, you're not suicidal, so we can't help you.
No.
They're trained.
Yep.
And most people, in my experience, social work, people get into that work either through professional or volunteerism. They get into it because they have a compassionate heart. They empathize with people and they genuinely want to help. So I think the main thing that a lot of us are looking for when we're grieving anything, divorce or death, a breakup, is just someone to understand. And sometimes, what is that TikTok trend? We listen and we don't judge.
Yes.
That's pretty much what you want. You just want someone to hear you and understand you. And when you're grieving, you don't always want a solution until you ask for it. So I think that was a good discussion. You have anything else to add?
No, I think the movie, even though it does cover a subject like grief, it's still a great film. It's funny. All the characters have me cracking up.
Yeah. I don't know, Monique get on my nerves. She has always gotten on my nerves.
I thought she did okay in this one. She was a little over the top, but I think the rest of the cast kind of helped round her out. Yeah, round her out a little bit.
So yes, we did hone in on grief, but again, that's what we do. So every movie that we look at, we pick a theme that stands out to us because again, we provide relationship advice and primarily but also for families. And so sometimes we'll be talking about a movie that's really funny and be like, oh, about grief.
Yeah.
And you might be like, what? How can I get grief out of this? But it literally begins with him acknowledging his wife's death. So that's what it's for. And we do hope you go watch it and laugh because you might be grieving and this might give you some of that release.
Absolutely.
That you need.
Absolutely. If you are going through grieving and you kind of cut away for a moment to get a good laugh, definitely check this movie out. Right. Almost Christmas.
That's it. So we'll see you for the next Christmas countdown. Countdown to Christmas. Yes, countdown to Christmas video.